I see us live on Facebook. I think we're live.
We're live.
Cool.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live stream that will address the topic, the impacts of COVID-19's pandemic on the global startup scene. This live is an initiative of the Brazilian National Industry Confederation, CNE, and the Entrepreneurial Mobilization for Innovation, MEI. I am Kiko Afonso, president of Dynamo, and today I'll be moderating this amazing talk with Rebecca Shi from Cross-Border Manager at Plug and Play China, Cross-Border Manager at Plug and Play China, and Yuzi Sheffer, CEO at Sosa. Hi, Rebecca. Very nice to meet you, and thank you for being with us. Could you please briefly introduce yourself to our spectators?
Hi. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here today to have this discussion with you guys. I'm from Plug and Play China. We are a global VC and accelerator. We have 30 offices over the world. And what we do is we do early stage investments, and we also do a lot of accelerator programs to support our startups to connect with the marketplace to achieve POC or have a deal with our corporate partners. And we have 7 offices in China, our headquarters in Beijing. Every year, personally, I will help our startups from over the world to enter the China market. So today, I would also like to use this chance to share some insights and ideas about what's going on in China and the innovation here. Thank you.
Amazing. Uzi, also a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for joining us also. Could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure. So I'm Uzi. I'm the CEO of Sosa. I'm based in Tel Aviv. I'm currently at Sosa in Tel Aviv. We are a global open innovation company. Our mission is to work with large organizations, or rather demand-driven than supply-driven, work with large companies and identify technologies that can really help prepare their business for the future. And we're doing this with a few dozens of huge multinational companies around the world. We have a center in Tel Aviv. That was the first one also. This is where I am now. We have our center in New York, which we opened in 2017, and an office in London as well. And I'm very excited to be here. We launched a partnership with CNI in a big launch event just a couple of weeks ago. We are very excited to do our first steps in Brazil together with CNI. And we'll speak about it maybe a little bit later, but there's a huge opportunity for all our global network around that. So thank you for having me. Very exciting.
Thank you both. Well, Plug and Play and Sosa are really known worldwide, so are references for a lot of people. And we're very happy to have you on this conversation. I want just to make a brief presentation about Dynamo also. Dynamo is a not-for-profit association in Brazil, founded in 2015, that advocates for better policies regarding the startup and innovation ecosystem in the country. We have led also the discussion from the ecosystem point of view, of course, of the Brazilian Startup Act, helping the government and legislators understand the needs of the ecosystem to build an advanced legislation for startups in the country. We hope it will be voted soon in Congress. Well, before we start with the questions, I would like to make a short introduction about the theme we're discussing today to give some context to our audience. So the COVID-19 pandemic has brought big impacts to the world's economy and citizens. Needless to say, this is a moment in history that will be on history books forever, and its consequences to economy and society, objects of study in the future. The impacts have also reached the startup ecosystem. While some segments were deeply impacted, like logistics, some were deeply impacted, other like logistics, health, digital transformation, and online shopping had a huge boom. But as we start to understand better the impacts, as the numbers start arriving, we can assess a little better the impacts. Some data from China, the first country to pass through the health emergency, shows us that between November 2019 and February 2020, the venture capital investments fell more than 50% as compared to the rest of the world. Another study published by WIDA in April 2020 analyzed 500 startups from Europe and Latin America. It showed us that COVID-19's crisis had affected negatively 3 in 4 startups, and that 1 in 4 believe they will not survive more than 3 months in the crisis. Also, some information from Startups Genome recent report shows us that globally, 74% of the startups had to fire employees, and 41% of the startups are in the red zone, with only 3 more months of cash flow. In Brazil, our ecosystem was having an historical best phase. Last year, we celebrated the mark of 12 unicorns. Also last year, we reached the historic record on venture capital investments that was growing every year since 2016, reaching $2.4 billion in 2019, almost a double value of 2018. All these consequences, while severe, are also an opportunity for new startups and disruptions. So to understand better these impacts and how it has been addressed worldwide with no further delay, I would like to ask the first question, and I think we can start with Rebecca. So Rebecca, and after that, Uzi, the same question. The COVID-19 pandemic raised unparalleled challenges to the whole society. How did your institutions react to this crisis? And in which sense the portfolio you built in the past years allowed you to come with new solutions to the problems that we have today? What are your institutions doing to support the entrepreneurs in difficulties? And also, you both operate globally, and did you perceive some regional differences on the reactions and consequences of the crisis? Rebecca, please.
Yes, thank you for the question. So definitely the whole COVID-19 thing has impacted a lot of companies, startups over the world. And for ourselves, it definitely accelerated our digitalization. I mean, even for Plug and Play China, our own company, for example, we updated our CRM system and upload all the information of our startups to allow different departments within the company could easily understand what others are doing and collaborate efficiently. And moreover, I remember at the beginning of the year, due to the COVID-19, all employees of Plug and Play China had to work remotely, and how to deliver projects and work together efficiently became a challenge for us. So what we do is we adopted a lot of different software and tools to make our teamwork possible. So for example, I think a lot of companies are using it, the tool called Zoom. So we use Zoom. Zoom is one of the tools we use often between the different locations, different offices, so that we could have meetings online. We could schedule lots of events online. Another one is, for example, Enterprise WeChat. It's a tool developed by Tencent, the top software group in China, that we could upload our files. I share files with my colleagues. We could have video meetings every day. So, and the functions related to like human resources and accounting, like reimbursement or business travel plan, could also be done through those single platform. So, so I think we digitalized a lot of our business usual for ourselves, and also we invested in one of the startup called Yike in China. It's kind of like a broadcast platform, and we also do a lot of online events and use the platform to broadcast it to over China. And I remember we had an online startup pitching event in March, which attracted more than 200,000 people to watch the live pitching events. And the startups immediately get fundraising and deal right after the event. So I think we do a lot of digitalizations for our own company and for our startups. And I mean, actually, the feedback from the startup is that they're actually happy to embrace this change, because now they could communicate online, they could develop their business online. They don't need to be limited by physical location. So more startups actually participated and participated in our events, and also met with our companies, with our corporate partners from different cities. So they could have this kind of meeting to discuss the opportunity with the potential partners and clients without any trouble. So this is also a big change for us for how we usually collaborate with the startups. So they're very happy about it, and also our corporate partners are very happy about it, that they could get to meet a lot of startups from outside of China or in China, to have like a video chat with them to discuss further about the cooperation. So I would say it is a very challenging time for us, but I also see everyone is doing a lot of taking a lot of effort to make it work, and it actually works. So I'm very happy to see that we stick together more than ever, because it's not just a challenge for one country or one company. To face the challenge, we actually have to collaborate with each other to get through it together. So from my knowledge, I don't think there is much difference between our global offices and Plug and Play China. We operate in a very similar way that I mentioned earlier, that during this special time we called off the face-to-face meeting. Instead, we organized a bunch of visual events to support our startups to deliver out results, to help the corporate partner to do open innovation, to have deal flows with our startups and also with our VC partners, so that we could, and also because we are located in different countries, we actually could have more communication with each other and learn from each other, like how are you doing in Silicon Valley? So what we could improve in China. So what's going on in China right now? So how the employee could go to the office, what kind of action we could take to prevent the pandemic, to protect our employee to keep working. So we learn a lot from each other. So I think even though it's a challenging time, but we take this opportunity to step forward, to move on with everyone, with our business.
Amazing. Uzi, what do you think about it?
I think it's amazing. I agree with you. But yeah, it's these are very challenging times. I think that the challenges are global. So I think that almost all places around the world, in different timeline and in different intensity, eventually get to experience quite similar challenges. So the cross-border communications is very important. I can share with you that maybe to address some of your questions that you mentioned, when this all started, we did I would say 3 immediate actions. One is obviously to take care of the team, to make sure that the team is safe, and to switch to working from home even before the official lockdown. 2, immediately after, I was very proud of our team that managed to very fast pivot our entire operation to online. And it's not evident because a lot of what we do, we are generating business. As a business, we're generating business. This is our business. And I think that there's like a general, most people will agree that business is done face to face and with shaking hands and so on. So it's a challenge, and it was also a question to see what can we really pivot to online, what will work, what won't work, what should we wait with, hoping that this pandemic will be short, what will remain with us simply because we discovered that it works amazingly. By the way, a lot of the stuff that we discovered, we will for sure keep and integrate into our services. We discovered, for example, like Rebecca said, that having remote meetings and especially remote sessions has many benefits. Well, you can't feel the person maybe like you feel it face to face, but it has many benefits, like, for example, better preparing sessions, better preparations between sessions. By the way, the operation has to be much more exact and much sharper. It's not like getting into a conference room. You have 4 top-level executives, and they in a 6 or 7 hours day, everything has to be on the second. So it's different. So that was the second thing. And the third, I think, like every business today, we analyzed our business, we reevaluated our operations, our financials. I think that this is an opportunity for every business to refine and to really see, okay, what's our core business? What is the core value that we create for our clients? And then what are we doubling down on and that? And my original assumption financially wise, so beginning of March, I said, as the CEO of the company, I said, okay, we're looking at a 24 months crisis. I believed that I was being conservative. Today, I don't think that I was conservative anymore. I think that this is still a reasonable assumption, and I also think that it's very difficult when you plan a business to plan for more than 24 months of crisis. If it's more than 24 months, then it's a new reality, right? It's not a crisis. And I think that if I look at the ecosystem and by speaking with other entrepreneurs, CEOs, investors, beginning of March, people's assumption was that we're looking at 18 to 24 months crisis, and this is what we're looking at, and that was the third action. When it comes to the ecosystem or I don't know, supporting entrepreneurs and so on, we actually found ourselves in a very interesting spot because due to the fact that our business is working for corporates for the demand side, we found ourselves as an even more important gateway to the global market for startups. So given that that there are travel restrictions worldwide, that's one. But two, demand for innovation and demand of technology didn't decline. On the contrary, it increased. Not in everything, right? If you had a travel tech startup, beginning of February, beginning of March, it's challenging, right? Digital health, cybersecurity, everything remote, whether it's for insurance or for banking or for e-commerce, consumer analytics, on the rise. But given that there are restrictions, but demand is here, so we found ourselves in a very important position for the ecosystem, and we actually launched a campaign. We reached out to startups in Israel and abroad, inviting them to get in touch with us, just to make sure that our teams knows them, that our analysts know them, that they're part of our databases, because this means that they have a better chance or a bigger opportunity to get connected to business opportunities. And I can keep talking. You ask about the ecosystems. Maybe a word about the ecosystems, because there are similarities, there are differences also. If you take our two main centers, which are Tel Aviv and New York, obviously two different ecosystems. One difference in timeline and intensity. So Israel locked down in March, New York a little bit later. Israel opened sooner. Now we are looking at the consequences, and we hope that we didn't open too soon. The culture is also different. So the culture in Israel is a little more loose. It's very difficult to fight a pandemic when people are not 100% disciplined.
Yes.
On the other hand, not opening up did allow some continuity for the business. So that's Israel, like business-wise and pandemic-wise. New York obviously was hit hard, which is very sad and very tragic for many people. We see New York opening now, right now, phase 4, and we really hope that we won't have a second wave in New York. With regards to the technology ecosystem, we saw incredible pivots. We saw many pivots. We saw entrepreneurs taking retail tech startups and pivoting them in 2 weeks from in-store analytics to social distancing monitoring. We saw companies with image recognition or image processing technologies pivoting to touchless access control to buildings. Everything which is touchless is now very hard.
I totally agree with you. Sorry to jump in.
Jump in when you want.
I was waiting for you.
I mean, we have the very similar observation here in China. I mean, yes, like you said, there are lots of challenges, like people harder to have business like face-to-face kind of meeting to move forward. But then our observation is like it also generates a lot of new opportunities for companies, for entrepreneurs. For example, the one you just mentioned, like the touchless scenarios, right? For example, like the robotics technology. Yeah. It's been widely used in China right now, especially also when you talk about the ecosystem. I could elaborate a little bit about ecosystem. Plug and Play also is building a ecosystem here in China, also globally. So basically what's on the ecosystem is that we have startups, we have corporates, we have universities, research institutions, we have local government. So everyone who related to innovation, all the players are there. And even because of the COVID-19, we even see a lot of partners, they opened more doors to embrace, to generate more demands of the technology innovation. For example, digital governments, a lot of business have been moved from offline to online. They try to use a lot of AI technology to do sometimes to do like a monitoring or to do like analysis of the crowd moving, so they could easily identify if you're in a higher risk area like that. And also like in the hospital, they use robotic to do the food delivery, because they're not allowed to have an intimate close interaction, right, with the patients because of the pandemic. So they have robotic to deliver food. And also for us, it's like when we go to like a shopping mall or when we go to the office, we could just use our phone to scan a QR code to show that our code is green, so we are not like a high risk, we're not from high risk area, things like that. So I see a lot of like new technology and new application are being used because of the COVID-19. So that's very interesting. I think we didn't. I don't think we would expect those coming like 6 months ago. I think it's because of the COVID-19.
It accelerated the process, right, Rebecca?
Yeah, exactly.
If I can follow up on that's very interesting because, like you said, Kiko, on what it's two things. One, existing revolutions were accelerated. So the digital health revolution, it was here. It's been accelerated. Cybersecurity, it was here, but now the need is more, right? Smart manufacturing, being able to operate manufacturing plants with less people, monitoring remotely, predictive maintenance, dashboards, and so on. It was there, but it has been accelerated. That's one thing. But the second thing, I think the interesting thing that we see around innovation is, and I think in the crowd also today, everybody that works in the innovation sphere or industry, doesn't matter from which side, know that around innovation, there was always 30, 40, I'll be gentle, 50% of noise or fluff. And we see a lot of noise canceling because, like you said, Rebecca, now there are needs which are acute and immediate. And all of a sudden, innovation and innovation leaders in large organizations, they're not anymore, these people who run in parallel to the business units, just thinking about what the industry will need in 3, 4, 5 years. Now,
we need it now, right?
In the center of the stage, they have a lot of responsibility. They need to source solutions now. So a lot of noise canceling. What does it mean for startups? It means that if you have a real solution to a real problem, but your company is also market ready, with the right team, and you can install and maintain and provide service, you're doing good, and many companies are thriving. If you're developing something, could be very innovative, right? But not necessarily for an existing problem, or you're trying to create a market and you don't really have a market fit yet. So these are very difficult times. And really this pandemic has made a very sharp distinction in the startup side as well, between what is real and what solves real problems, and what is and companies which will have a real hard time probably raising money or stuff like that.
Startups surely were better prepared technologically than the big companies to tackle the pandemic's crisis and everything that impacted the day-to-day work. But do you think talking about this was another question, but I'm just bringing it in since we're just talking. Do you think that these companies, these big companies that are now trying to catch up with digital transformation and technologies, etc., do you think it was a lack of insights? There wasn't the right stimulus for them? So do you think after the pandemics, they're going to say, well, now we learned our lesson, we have to move faster with this? What do you both think?
Rebecca, you want to start?
So I think we did some analysis about it. I think they are more open than before. Some of them might change the direction to digitalization. But mainly, usually, when we talk about those big corporates, it's like, why would they want to do open innovation? It's because of, for example, they wanna do something related to business model disruption. They wanna improve their customer experience. They wanna have they want to work with the startups that have more ability to their R&D operations, or they want access to new markets. So things like that. So a lot of big corporates in China, and also from our global corporate partners, they already doing open innovation with startups. But then this year, some of them would change some direction because of the newly generating demands from the customers or from the industry. And also some of the top corporates, they are trying to do a lot of things that's cross industries. Because usually, for example, if you're talking about, for example, real estate company, because property tech is also very popular now, right? So when we talk about real estate company, not that much people understand what exactly are they looking for in technology innovation. But actually, for example, in China, a lot of top real estate companies, they're looking into technology, not just related to, for example, the technology they could use in the shopping mall. They're also looking into a lot of technology like AR, VR, or those technology could be used into do a lot of customer analysis. And also, for example, one of the startups we invested, their AR, VR technology could help you to look into the decorated property without wearing any devices. So a lot of corporates, they're trying to they're trying to adopt new technology, and also they're trying to see if they could cross industry to develop into other areas. And some of our real estate partners, they're looking into healthcare, because this year, because of the COVID-19, it also generates a lot of demands in healthcare sectors. So, for example, like remote healthcare, like health management, like healthcare management, and also like remote therapists, or like the doctors could get in touch with the just by connected on the mobile phone, things like that. They will also look into this kind of area. So I think for the corporate side, my observation would be that some of them are deeply also interesting to explore industries that's not necessarily their main business right now. So that's also, I think that's also a good chance for innovation, because you're seeing that a lot of corporates are trying to open and trying to look for new areas that they could invest in or work with. What do you think?
I agree. But to come back to how you phrase the question, if they have incentive now, I think that they had incentive before the pandemic, and I think that now they don't have a choice. That's my observation. And
yeah,
again,
I agree with you. They invested a lot in the IT system, like the big corporate. They invested a lot than before the pandemic to the IT system, because they need to do the digitalization. So they have to. You're right.
Yeah, the incentive was always there. Now there is no choice. Why? Just very simple examples maybe. So obviously digital health and cybersecurity and all that, but if you take a big bank, for example, right, or a big whatever B2C company, so the entire world changed. People are locked at home. Their behavior changed. Their consumer behavior and patterns changed. So consumer behavior analytics, for example, which is not maybe like the most obvious technology in demand now, is in high demand, because large organizations need to know what are their customers, what do they want, what are they doing, are they leaving home? The insurance sector, right? If I'm not leaving home, if I'm not driving my car, if I work from home, my entire risk profile has changed, right? And the way, how do you deliver services to people remotely? So you need automated claims, automated underwriting. By the way, a headline from yesterday, Hippo the Israeli insurtech company raised $150 million at a $1.5 billion valuation. And a headline from 2 weeks ago, the successful IPO of Lemonade, $1.6 billion valuation. 2 companies digitalizing the insurance sector, right? So if you are digitalizing traditional industries, you're in the right place currently. So they have no choice, and that's that. But they have no choice, and this is why they're looking at very practical stuff, much less noise, and the innovation leaders in these organizations are becoming very, very important people.
So lessons learned for them.
Yeah, and by the way, you say maybe before the pandemic, after the pandemic. I don't know what it means after the pandemic, because we don't know for how long this will continue. We already know for sure that some things that we have adopted will remain.
Yeah,
because again, we only accelerated revolutions. We didn't make anything up. We didn't start developing technologies in February 2020, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
So this is it's a process, and we're in, and that's it. That's how it looks like.
Yeah. And Hippo is also our portfolio company. We invest in them.
Oh,
what a small world.
Good for you.
Small world.
Incredible company.
Yeah.
Well, let's exactly talk about your institution. So each institution has a different strategy and scope of action, Plug and Play and SOSA, but in different ways, all of you have given important contributions to the application of new technologies and growth of thousands of companies. I would ask you if you could please share the main deliverables coming from your work done by your institutions, not only on the pandemic, on the past years, and how the expertise achieved during your journey can help startups, big companies, and VCs to find new paths from now on. So, Yuzi, you can start now this second question, please.
Okay. Yeah, so our mission as a business is to work with large organizations and help them identify and also implement technologies that prepare their business for the future. So again, before the pandemic, of course, there was the incentive to prepare for the future, and now the future is here. And our expertise really lies not only in mapping companies and building databases and so on, but really in building relationships with the leading technology companies in the ecosystems where we operate. So we were founded in Israel. I'm here in our first center in Israel. As you may know, there is an incredible supply of technologies here. It's an export-oriented ecosystem. It's a B2B-oriented ecosystem. More than 70% of Israeli entrepreneurs develop enterprise solutions. Almost all of them develop deep technology, scalable solutions. So the match between large companies and Israeli technology companies is perfect. And there are over 500 multinational companies with presence in Israel. It's a very vibrant ecosystem. But I think that really the interesting part is that the biggest challenge in digital transformation, and we are very deep in supporting this aspect, that the biggest challenge is not necessarily on the technology side, but rather on the corporate side. And I will even say on the corporate culture side. Because digital transformation without cultural transformation is bound to fail, and this means that without really engaging the organization itself in an effective way, you can't really digitally transform a company. And we've been learning this over the course of year, and we keep learning every day more and more. And this is why we developed in the course of years formats that really help not only identify technologies and work with the CISOs or CTO or business unit managers on the implementation, but formats that also take and involve in the process the people from the organization itself, because these are the people eventually who will transform the company, not only the innovation leaders. So I will summarize that as a business, we serve as an extension of the innovation teams in Israel, in New York, and we're expanding globally. For the tech companies, we represent simply a huge go-to-market opportunity. We connect more than 2,000 technologies every year to the global markets with hundreds of highly curated meetings and dozens of deals actually closed. That's our modest contribution.
Modest contribution. Yeah, sure. We believe that. Rebecca, please.
Yeah, because I was curious, like, what's the difference between Sosa and plug and play, right? So, but when I heard about your introduction now, I think I find a little bit difference. I think for plug and play, the emphasized part is on the startup side. So what we do, the whole ecosystem is built up around startups. And I wanna also take this chance to say a little bit about how we start a business, because it's actually very funny. Our two founders, the Amidi brothers, they are firstly in the real estate industry. So they own a building right next to Stanford University. And then earlier when Google moved out of the garage, they're trying to rent a place to run their operation. But our founder back then, he knew nothing about internet, and he doesn't know what were they doing. But he thinks it sounds exciting. So he thinks since that they can afford the rent, then he decided to take the equity to exchange for rent.
Good call.
So that they, yeah, that's kind of like a one incubator 1.0, kind of like that kind of model. And then they moved into that building, and then they successfully moved out, and then PayPal moved in, and then Logitech. So a lot of startups like successfully been incubated in that small building, so they called it Lucky Building. And then they would be like, "Wow,
are you selling the building?"
No.
Rebecca, give us the address, please.
Yeah, that's kind of like a famous sightseeing spot in Silicon Valley. And then in 2006, our founder to run like a huge headquarters in Sunnyvale. So that became our global headquarters. And firstly, it's still startups there. But then gradually, a lot of VCs in Silicon Valley, right? So every day they go to the building and interact with startups. So they figure that maybe they could just rent a desk there to be closer to them. So we have VCs there. And then a lot of corporate like R&D team or innovation heads, they also travel there often to meet up with the startups. And eventually some of them will also rent a small place, a desk or a space there. So the founder realized within the building is kind of like an ecosystem. We have startups, we have VCs, we have corporates, we have university right next to it. So that he decided that why don't we just build a whole ecosystem for the startup? Because he realized other than fundraising, other than meet up with the VCs to raise rounds of investment, the startups actually needs a lot of things to grow up, to grow strong. They need like mentor. They need to do open innovation with corporates. They need a lot of things. So that's how we started to build the whole ecosystem. So we called it an all-in-one solution for startups. So like I said earlier, everyone on the ecosystem. So nowadays we partner with over 400 corporate partners. They're all Fortune Global 500 companies. And in China, we partner with the top 100 Chinese companies here as well. And also we partner with over 300 VC partners because we usually invest in the early stage. So when the startups go to the later stage, if they need the Series B or Series C, we will also recommend them to our venture capital partners. And also we have university partners because a lot of technology coming out of university, and also we get to meet a lot of professors. They could be the startups mentors. And then we also partner with in China, we partner with over 22 city governments because usually for startups, when they look for partners or clients, it's not just in those top tier cities like Silicon Valley or Paris or Beijing or Shanghai. In China, China's huge. Each city, each district has to emphasize industry and gathered a lot of resources. So we wanted to help them to access to resources all over China. So that's what we do here. We build up the whole ecosystem to help them. So I would say over all those years, this almost 30 years, I think we have been helped a lot of startups to grow. We have been partnered with a lot of corporates on open innovation. And by doing those things, we are very happy to see the new technology to be embraced by the market, to be applied into so many different industries, products, everything. The technology in was born in one country get to be developed into another country. I think that's very exciting. And I would say the mission of us, our mission is make innovation open to anyone and anywhere. So I think we continue to contributing to achieve this mission. That's what we do, and I'm very excited to also get to know like Sosa, like what you guys do. I think it's also very similar, and I guess this kind of things, like you mentioned earlier, especially now and also after, our role are very important, because to promote innovation, to help them to do open innovation. I think our role is very significant, and it's exactly because of us. A lot of things, innovation elements gets to flow between each other, ideas gets to generate it. So yeah, that's our contribution to the world, I guess.
Very good, very good. I'm just curious about something. You talked a lot about universities and the partnerships that you have. I would like to know also about Sosa. So how is the role with universities? Do you work close with them for innovation? What do you see them as the importance of them on the ecosystem? Of course, we know it's important, but I would like to know a little more. How do you work with them? Yuzi, you can start.
So again, like Rebecca said, and we work as a business. We work distinctively for the demand side. So everything is generated. First, we generate the demand, and then we source the solutions. And there is a strong emphasis on market-ready solutions. There has been already in the last couple of years, and now it's only market-ready solutions. So when you look at universities, so first-time entrepreneurs, raw IP from university, that's one step a little far away from us. But if you look at tech transfer offices, and there are some incredible ones all over the world, I believe, Rebecca, that your Shenzhen office is also in a tech transfer office, right? In Shenzhen. I visited, in one of the leading universities also, a very incredible place. So this is where it becomes more relevant for us. And
let me just interrupt you. Could you explain for our audience the tech transfer role so people can understand it?
Yeah, tech transfer offices are entities that take IP or ideas from universities and commercialize them, transform them into businesses. So basically build businesses either by investing or by bringing entrepreneurs to build them, or by just supporting the entrepreneurs. It depends. That's case by case. Israel has a few successful tech transfer offices. The Hebrew University in Jerusalem has a very good tech transfer office, and so on. So they transfer the tech from the academia to the practical world. And this is where it becomes interesting for us as well. But at the end of the day, the job of our analysts is to be in touch and in contact, and to be aware of what is being developed, with an emphasis on market-ready solutions, on practical technologies that can be implemented. Sometimes less now in the midst of the pandemic, but before that, sometimes we also had some deeper technological exercises with some of our clients, where we brought in really academia people and professors discussing cutting-edge technologies that will be rolled out to the market only 2 and 3 years ahead, edge computing and stuff like that. But basically, we look at more practical ventures.
Amazing. Rebecca, what do you think about it?
Well, I think I would agree with Yuzi. And when we talk about universities, we believe university is also an innovation hub. Like, a lot of like students, professors, alumni, they're doing a lot of entrepreneurship practice. And also a lot of good startups are coming from the universities. So like Yuzi mentioned, we also have a lot of tech transfer center in China. And that's also why we wanna be closer to them. Like our headquarters in Beijing, we also our headquarters is also right next to Tsinghua University. It's the top tier university in China. So we want to be close with them, and we we also like sometimes we will partner with them, help them to do some entrepreneurship like workshop or curriculum to help the students, to inspire them to related to like technology innovation or entrepreneurship. So I think it's a very important part on our ecosystem, and no matter is technology transfer or is for other kind of collaboration, like I know universities between different countries, they will also collaborate with each other to try to either co-build some labs or work on some innovation projects together. But either way, I think it's a very important part that could contribute to innovation, and we would also keep working with them.
Cool, very good. Well, last question before we enter. It's a mix on the question that I received here, and so I think it's going to be responded by you guys on this question. So the first thing is, could you pick one main lesson that you learned recently and tell us what to use on the main shifts for your institution, if this new lesson made some big shifts on your institution? And also what you expect, and this is the trending question, is what you expect for the years to come in terms of investment trends, any particular bets beyond digitalization and remote operations, and what will be your priorities, and if you have plans for Brazil. So Rebecca, you may start, please.
Okay. Actually, for if you talk about lesson learned, I'm not sure, but if you ask me, I would say the biggest lesson learned is that we are working in the innovation area, so we have to be innovative. So I guess that's the biggest lesson learned for us, especially because of the challenging time. Because a lot of plans got delayed. We have to change things to adapt to the new situation. The business still running, like you mentioned earlier. We are still working on it. We're still operation, so we can't stop. We have to change. So that's the biggest lesson learned. And for investment side, I think even though it's also an interesting fact, even though it's challenging, right? But first Q 2020 this year, we still saw a lot of startups in China finish their fundraising rounds. Some of them are early stage, some of them like Series B and C. So even though venture capitals are hesitant and more cautious or careful than before, but we do see a lot of outstanding startups, they successfully get fundraising, and especially in areas like healthcare, AI, even like a gaming industry. So definitely startups still have opportunities. So don't give up. Hang on there. And then for in China, I could give you 3 top, like the hottest areas in China. The first one would be mobility. So autonomous driving is very hot in China. And we partner with a lot of top mobility corporates in China as well. Every corporate, they're trying to improve their current product and also try to explore new technology that could be applied to this strategy. So mobility is a very, very hot area, and it could expand it to, for example, like supply chain, like parking, IoT or smart city, like that. And then also another one is the AI technology, because of course AI could be used into so many different industries. For example, like fintech, like retail. But either way, we think AI is a very hot technology nowadays, and they have been deployed into so many different industries. And then the third one would be smart manufacturing, because there are a lot of factories and this kind of leading companies in China nowadays trying to transform their technology to keep up their leading status in the market. So they have to transform, and then so the smart manufacturing technology is quite helpful for those companies. So it's also a very hot areas. We we cover 16. We call them verticals globally, and in China we cover 10 of them. So I would say those 10 of them would be definitely a good industry to go into if you're looking for entering the China market. They are brand and retail, fintech, insurtech, healthcare, IoT, energy and sustainability, food and agri-tech, mobility, real estate, supply chain, travel, and smart cities. Yeah. So, and talk about how to cooperate with Brazil is actually a very interesting topic, because I also met with some professors in Brazil that I learned agriculture tech is well developed in Brazil.
It
We
is.
also, right? I didn't know that before until I read the report. We have office in São Paulo, and they also work in the agriculture tech sector. And this year in China is gonna also be one of the popular areas in China, because a lot of cities, they're trying to do agriculture kind of transformation by applying new technology. So I think in 2020, I would explore more opportunities in agriculture tech to collaborate with Brazilian companies. So if you are a company that looking for cross-border opportunities, or if a startup looking for help, I think we would be able to support you. I mean, of course, not just the agriculture tech, but I'm just saying that I'm surprised that this industry is well developed in Brazil and very hot in Brazil. Yeah.
Brazil is, I think, the main exporter of grains and things like that worldwide. So we have Embrapa in Brazil. That's a very huge government agency that develops a lot of technology and is leading on that worldwide. Uzi, what are your bets, trends, and etc.?
Let's start with lessons learned.
Perfect.
Very fast answer, because the answer is that you need to act fast. So the world has obviously changed tremendously. We don't know for how long, and managers and teams and leaders need to act fast. They need to pivot fast. They need to take care of cost structures. They need to take care to transform their services, to transform their business development and sales infrastructure to remote. Demand for technologies around the urging needs now, so they need to be able to move fast and implement, and so on. And those companies who moved fast actually did very well in the past months. So some companies did very well. With regards to trends, look, first of all, let's just in 2 words see what happened in the past months. So in Israel, we saw the latest report on venture capital investment H1 this year, in many investments. So we're doing good on the numbers. Obviously, February, March was slower. April, it caught back. $5.25 billion invested in H1 in Israel in 312 deals. In New York, we saw a plunge in Q2 from 373 deals in 2019 to 191 deals in Q2 this year. But still, we see deals in New York in digital health, in cybersecurity, round B, round C, $60 million, $30 million. So business is working. By the way, this doesn't mean about Israel that it will continue like that. It doesn't mean that it means business as usual, because business is not as usual. From my conversation with investors, I know that many of them deployed capital into portfolio companies just to make sure that they have the runway for this period. And again, the 18 to 24 months working assumption is the common assumption for most of them. So it is more difficult to raise money and to raise first money to other companies as well. By the way, this is where the government can also step in, and the Israeli government has some incredible programs and incentives. And I know, Kiko, that you are busy promoting this in Brazil, and this is why it's always important. But again, the pandemic just makes things more extreme. It just emphasizes more how much this is important, because this is where the government can step in and make up for gaps that exist in the private sector. So with regards to foreseeing the future, I'm a little prophet. I'm a very small prophet, so I cannot foresee the future. Like we said, existing revolutions were accelerated. Things will not go back, and good things will come out of it. Whether it's hospital 2.0 or 3.0. People count industry, they don't count hospitals yet, but the vision of hospital, remote telemedicine, having people hospitalized at home, vital signs remotely, all that, this will not go back. So I think that this is a benefit for all the populations who are able to implement such solutions. I strongly agree with Rebecca. The industrial sector, and this is also the basis for our and my answers to your last question about Brazil. This is also the basis and the vision for our partnership with CNI in Brazil. And the industrial sector had already a lot of things to do in digital transformation, but now with broken global supply chains, with global value chains broken, with logistics, with the need to open up factories, but you need to protect the people and take care of them, and you need less people on the floor. So this is very hard. It will remain. It will accelerate, and whatever is being implemented now will remain. But like Rebecca said, you mentioned like 10 verticals. I think that innovation, almost in every vertical, basically supports the type of challenges that we see now, even in food, in agri-tech or in food technologies, in food tech, right?
Yes.
To have healthier food, safer food, it all has to do with the challenges that we're seeing. So that's that. And for Brazil, so we are very excited to have launched the partnership with CNI. We are doing the first steps in Brazil with things. We believe that this is a huge opportunity, and having such a huge economy and specifically industrial sector as part of our global network that we're running, and bringing together supply and demand, this is very exciting for us. And
Amazing. Uzi and Rebecca, one last question before we end our live from the audience is, when do you think venture capital investments will be back to the standards observed before the pandemic? So Rebecca, what do you think?
Wow, that's a very hard question.
That's the $1 million question, right?
It's a very tricky one.
Yeah.
I would say probably not that soon. We still have to wait a little bit. But for those really outstanding startups, I think their opportunities are there. So I don't think the COVID-19 or any difficulty would stop them from getting investment or getting opportunity. But you just have to, sometimes you have to change your solution. You have to change your market strategy to adapt to the new situation. I would say I would still encourage startups to keep going on. I wouldn't say the thing prevent you from anything. I think it's still a good environment for you, and you probably would need to work a little bit harder to get investment. But the VCs are still out there. The monies are there. They're just trying to look for the right target to invest in.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's true. I strongly agree. Money is there. Many funds were closed just before the pandemic. Some funds were closed after the pandemic, like launched, right? And it's not about waiting. It's about having a real solution to a real problem, and business is working. So in Israel, H1 figures were like normal for the year. It doesn't say it doesn't say everything, because we know that many deals were late stage, and many deals were in existing portfolio companies. But yeah, nothing will stop. The need for innovation is only increasing. It just very practical, real businesses, real people, real teams, real solutions, and yeah.
Yes.
If you are an entrepreneur, you should go for it and not wait for anyone, because there are a lot of opportunities also nowadays.
I agree.
True. That's true. Well, we're coming to an end. Uzi Sheffer from SOSA, Rebecca Shi from Plug and Play China. I want to thank you very much for this talk. It was amazing. You want to give some last words for our audience and to Brazil, to say something, some inspirative message for us?
Okay, I will go first. So I want to tell everyone we are a open innovation platform, and I'm also quite would like to meet everyone from Brazil. So if you need any kind of help, if you're not even a startup, that's also fine. Just feel free to reach out to me. I would love to offer my help to support you, to support startups, to build a relationship between the Chinese companies and Brazilian companies. And I look forward to more collaboration between our two countries.
I join Rebecca and invite our audience and the broader network to really get connected with us, because business is moving on. The world didn't stop turning. It did change. It will continue to change. We hope for the better in some aspects, and we're in business. Our corporate clients are doing tremendous work. We see a lot of demand. We invite you to get in touch with us. We are doing our first steps in Brazil. We know that there are thousands and thousands, more than 10,000 startups in Brazil also that can also get connected to global opportunities. And that's it. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much to both. Thank you that is watching us until now. To all the audience, we hope you liked it. It was an amazing talk. I liked it a lot. Thank you very much to both of you, and see you guys next time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Rebecca. Stay safe and take care.
Stay safe.
Take care.